got that.
Yeah, we back. District 3 podcast. Ben is not your host today because he's out getting married.
He got
yes.
married. Our Ben is married.
Yes.
Congratulations, Ben and Jared, on your next step of your journey, being married. Oh, geez, I can tell you stories.
He's
but I'm
finally
so happy
an honest man.
He's an honest man. Ben, you honest.
But let that not take away from our special guest today, Councilwoman.
That's right. That's right.
You want to introduce? I guess.
I was on my way down the elevator, like, how am I going to introduce this woman? Like, because people think, like, you know what, they friends, they just cool with each other. But we met about the people's business.
Right.
We met while you were organizing with Poor People's Campaign, Women in Transition. You were a woman in transition, just like I was, trying to figure life out. You left. People don't know you militant.
By transition,
she military affiliated. Okay. She did her time and got back out on the streets and then became one of the most phenomenal activists. I call her the heart of the local social justice movement because it's about social change and that impacts everybody. We said during the Justice for Breonna Taylor movement that there's just some people who care about the greater good of everyone. I mean, yes, our people, Black-led, all of that, women, all of that, but that just cares, that has the heart to carry this work. And that doesn't mean it isn't easy, that it's easy, because it isn't. But anyway, she is a person that can call me and I'm like, okay, what porch I got to jump off of? And I'm so connected to her that for like 6 years, my PIN code on my phone, she doesn't know this, and my voicemail was 2029. Because she has kept that same number since then. And Dre, you didn't even know that. No, my kids know, but you didn't know. We vacation together. We've done work together. We've been in the streets together. We've raised our families. We've seen a lot over these, I would say I'm just going to round it up to 20 years. And so anyway, Dr. Khalila, are you Dr. Khalila Collins yet? Like, she's working on that.
Not yet.
We're going to go ahead.
We're going to go on and name it, Dre. That's what we do, right? We call it to being Dr. Khalila Collins.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I need one of these machines in
yes,
my house.
Yes, we do. Doesn't put you in the mold.
I'm like, let's go now. I'm ready.
Now, she did do a podcast, too, and I hope she mentions that, too, because they invited me to be a part of that. It was moving, and as we tell the stories, because she's really into mental health therapy, she's going to tell you what her background is. But when I was doing that podcast, I had to sit back.
That was a lot. The podcast was a lot. It was a lot. That's why it's not finished.
No, that's right.
That's why
that's
it's
all
not
right.
done.
We all ongoing pieces of work. So let's get to it. Let's tell the people your version of who you are and why you show up the way you show up.
Welcome, Dr. Collins.
Welcome.
I got to get used to that.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know how to respond
And the first time I've been with all of you all, and Dre noticed that I popped out with my locks. I was hiding them under the wigs.
I knew they were there, though.
But this is the first time I've been in a space with all of y'all where I'm all locked up. Shout out to the locks because I'm not doing the lock growth journey because I've been having them for a while. But I'm out with it. I'm out with my locks. And these two people have inspired me. I remember when they started. Wait, did you restart? Like you? No, okay. Restart. That was Attica that started a couple times. Yeah. I remember when they started, when they had the baby dreads. I just saw a picture with me and you and Tyra, and your locks was like. They was hanging though. They was hitting.
He had a little hang time.
So I just want to say you two inspire me, not just with the hair journey. Because when you did your hair journey, remember you were going to the D.C.
I was going to D.C. and I was scared to go because I didn't want Michelle Obama to see me with little pickaninny things in my head.
So we had a whole discussion on wigs.
Yes.
And then I was in the parking lot near the clean, and I just pulled over.
Center. We were at Clean Center.
I pulled over like, you know what? I get where you coming from. That's kind of how I was telling Dre. Anything I do, well, first of all, I'm from Cincinnati, so that is what it is. But when I noticed that when you're not homegrown, any like change you make, it becomes the center of attention. And I wanted the focus to be on the work. And so not that I was trying to deceive people. To me, it is a personal journey that I needed to be ready for. But the way people, I don't know, because the eyes are low. People just don't trust me. I get it. I smile. Big booty and a smile. You know how that goes. But I wasn't ready to do that in that way at the moment, at the same time of transitioning into the government role. Mm-hmm. So I had said to Dre on the campaign trail, I was like, you know what, I'm going to come out with it. First of all, the wigs is getting hot and it's hard to hide them. Because I'll be like in a meeting and next thing I know, I see one on my shoulder like, wait, I ain't tucked that one under. So then when I kept having the tucking problems, then I was like,
it's time to go ahead and let it go.
So yeah.
I mean, the lock journey is funny because I remember doing this work early on, and I had somebody ask me about going natural because I mean, you remember the roller wraps and the little bob that I had and all of that, and it was like
fly though. Your hair was fly.
Thank you. I appreciate
and
that.
The bob was bobbing. So,
but it was like I thought because at that time, most people who were doing work like that weren't wearing wigs and weren't wearing bobs. They were, hair locked or,
froze.
Natural froze or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was like, no, I want you to see the person you created in your face,
That's right.
Telling you this is wrong, this is bad.
You were very out with your your growth and your journey. And your sister helped you.
Yeah, my sister started my locks.
And we both got heat from
that's very conscious. Like
what?
Because when I was in college, my freshman year, I always wore fatigue shorts that y'all always see me, right? I still wear them joints, and I had my grill in,
y'all
right? I was all in these Du Bois and Booker T debates and stuff, and I would sit there quiet, and then they would be like, then when I would say something, they'd be like, oh, wait, we didn't expect that to come out your mouth. So I was like, I just saw the same thing when you said like,
and then with
I
the
want them
they
to see what you made talking back to you. I was on the same thing. Yeah,
because it was like they don't expect the girl with the perm or the girl with the whatever wearing the lipstick or wearing the whatever. To be conscious or even thinking about it. Yeah, any of those things. So it was important. But what made me change. That was you gonna ask me why I decided to lock my hair?
That sounds great. So what's the girl with the locks doing nowadays?
She kept the hair done.
The girl with the locks is doing the same thing, right? But the hair definitely puts everything into perspective for me. Like I started my locks the same month that I decided to move to New Orleans. Yeah. And so in 2016, that was a long year for me. And my lock journey is what kept me. My lock journey represented what I was going through in life. It was a huge transition. And so I lost some very key people in my life that year. I left Louisville that year. And so that lock journey was about transition, even when I didn't know it was going to be about that. And so it definitely has been part of my life in different ways than just a hairstyle or just a statement that I'm trying to make. It's really helped me through a lot of things and understanding like this is what transition looks like. This is what it feels like. It's not always. There was days when I wanted to chop my whole head off because I hated them things so much, right? But it kept me patient. It kept me still. It kept me aware. And so I said very early on, what it takes to get through this lock journey, through this baby stage, will get me through the rest of my life. And it has been that. And so it's been powerful. And then the community, I mean, like you brought it up. Like even on my bad hair days, I go somewhere and people are like, oh, I love your hair. And I'm like, oh, really? But like, I'd be like, yeah, thank you. And so especially people who are just starting their locks and now realizing how long mine done got because it's been almost 9 years. Yeah. And so it's heavy.
It is.
I'm losing.
That's what Bonnie Hines
some
Hudson
of it.
told me.
I need to do some maintenance because I'm going to end up balding in the top if I keep it up. But
that's this mayor's administration.
Well, the mayor's administration, the last 5 years. Yeah, the last 5 years have definitely run a number on the locks, put a lot more gray streaks up there and a lot more, But also, when I'm under pressure and stress, my hair grows more. So it's also, again, a metaphor for like my life and who I am, and this my hair has been a manifestation of that, right? So like I've grown. I thought I knew everything in 2020, but I never. And I don't mean that literally.
I know what you mean,
but I did not think that I had this much growth still left in me 5 years later, right? And so I've grown so much over the last 5 years, and my hair has grown so much over the last 5 years, and it's all been it's mirrored. It's been a metaphor for my life.
Well, let me say this quickly because I know Dre has a list of questions, but professional and personal.
He didn't give me no questions. I didn't consent to.
Oh, he did. Okay, good to know.
No,
he didn't give me none either.
They surprised.
They surprised. Professional and personal development is one of the things that I tell any team I'm working with that nobody is above. Right. I don't care how many degrees they got, how many experiences. Nobody is above some type of growth and change. So it's been beautiful to watch you do that publicly in ways that I didn't feel as comfortable doing. One, not just a vanity thing, not just because I look like my daddy without hair. I already look like him with hair, but really look like him without hair. I've had my husband shave my head a few times. I shaved my head when I was in Miami. So it's not that it's not the hair that I'm attached to as it is. It's a convenience thing, like going out and getting ready and things like that. But I do want to share that one time we were talking and you were like, you won't be showing your grades. And I do have a few speckled grades in my genetics, though my family don't have a lot of gray. So it's speckled in. But I wasn't showing my gray as much as it is now. It shows more now. Because I wore the wigs, and that kept a lot of exactly, and that kept a lot of the sun and so the natural changes that were happening. So I noticed that because I was wearing them out, even though when I got home I took them off. But another thing, we have a friend in common, Africa Wusada, who is amazing. Whose locks stay. Yes, she's still lock goals. She'll always be. They're immaculate. They are
perfect,
beautiful. They're perfect, and neither one of them. I wanted to start. I didn't want to go through the baby stage, so I kind of wanted to cheat. And like, she would refuse to do my locks because I wanted to cheat. Then your sister refused to do my locks because I wanted to cheat. But my daughter Shamari, shout out to her. She started her own lock. She started Mitez's lock. She started a lot of people's locks. She started my locks. So I can count on two hands the amount of people in 48 years that have been in my head because I'm very spiritual around who touch my hair. And my sister and my daughters are some of the main people. My mom, the main people who touch my hair.
Same thing.
So she started them, and then she was just like, "Mama, are you going to do this?" Nobody had faith that I was going to keep it up because I changed my mind all the time, and I realized that the changing of hair, just like you being public with the journey, was a part of my story and how I told who I was. And then I realized that the hair can change. I'm still this same Shamika. I had to show people in different ways because the way that I'm pictured and viewed because of all my different types of work was different. So anyway, Africa is an amazing lock goal person for us. Yes. But she wasn't who started our locks. So now it's just interesting to see this journey. And Dre, I don't know who started yours, but his has been beautiful, and they've been like, you did?
I started my own stuff.
I didn't know that, and they've been flourishing.
And I was the only one to touch them in like
you told me
5 years.
Yeah, you told me
I
that.
had no idea.
Just started. Yeah,
then
you told me that a while
I let my
ago.
sister touch them, and then I've only had two people in my head: my sister and my girlfriend.
Wow.
Wow. That's the thing. People don't like hair. Is so much more than hair.
Sacred.
It's so much more than hair. Like even when I did the big chop, right? My sister's a hairdresser, as I already said that. But I went to my old hairdresser to cut my hair off because I had to end that relationship with her, right? And so I went to her and said, I want to do the big chop, cut it off. And that was our ending. And then I went to my sister and started getting my hair done by my sister. And then even when I moved to New Orleans, I found somebody there, and that's who does my hair. To the point where my sister gets mad when I come home and won't let her do it because I'm like, no. This ain't your hair right now. No. This is not your hair.
It's
no
not
more.
your garden anymore. You can't play in it.
It's not your hair, so you can't play in it. And we've had fights about it, but we get over it. But hair is like you can't just have everybody's hands in your head.
You can't.
Before we go too deep
this
for
holds
TV,
a lot of
energy.
It holds a lot of energy.
I almost cut them off after 2020.
2020 was a deal breaker.
Check out the story of Samson if you don't believe the power of hair.
That's right.
Yeah. So what are you doing now?
Talk about hair.
Yeah, what are you doing now? What are you? Because that was like a 10-minute introduction, but we still don't know. Tell all the people who Dr. Collins is.
Okay. So Dr. Collins is the director of Diverse Options, Voice and Empowerment, which is a Louisville-based alternative to police organization. So we were built around creating and helping support the building of community capacity around mental health crisis. We do not want people who are experiencing mental health crises to be interfacing with law enforcement if they can help it. And so We try to build community capacity through trainings, through workshops, through just community building, period, to hopefully have less interaction with law enforcement or involuntary hospitalizations. I think that we have the skills, the resources, the experience in our communities to take care of each other. We just don't know that we have it or don't necessarily have all the pieces of it. And so I think that we have the ability to be able to take care of each other because we don't need law enforcement showing up to someone who's having a mental health crisis, because we've seen how it ends. And even if it doesn't end fatally, it still can end in some sort of trauma, and we don't need that, right? And so what Dove is working on doing is creating capacity to address those issues and concerns without the help of law enforcement.
What kind of projects are you working on right now?
So a bunch of things. So we have a bunch of community trainings coming up over the next few months. And so like we have mental health first aid trainings coming up. We were supposed to have one this morning. We'll have a virtual one next week. We'll have one in person in March, the end of March, working with some barbers. Actually, my sister's shop is going to be getting trained in mental health first aid. We're partnering with DJ's Plan and Empower with Heat to deliver mental health first aid trainings to beauticians and barbers. And then we'll have a community event, a community conversation around community mental health response and things like that at the shop after that. So that's what's happening in March. But then we have the Helpers program, which is where we work with supporting mental health practitioners who support and work with Black people in Black neighborhoods and marginalized communities, people who that's their population of focus. And so we support them because who is helping the helpers, right? People are out here every day talking to people, and, hearing their hardest truths and hearing their hardest experiences. And still, they get up every day and do that. And who takes care of them? Where do they go for respite? Where do they go for self-care? Where do they go to build their skills? And are their skills up to par to really address the needs of our populations and things like that? And so we want to support clinicians in taking care of themselves professionally and personally. And so we have programming. We have professional development programming for clinicians and practitioners. And then we also are supporting them in self-care and resilience building activities as well. So we like networking opportunities, but also like just get some rest. We can come in, bring you in, do some acupressure with you, do maybe some yoga, maybe some Tai Chi with you, just get you to, give you some space and some tools to be able to continue to go forward without completely draining yourself.
You pop up and do that too. Is that the one I participated in when you all were outside?
Yep.
That was beautiful. And people were coming in to get their massages. Yeah. Like it felt like just in the middle of, downtown can be a little chaotic, but at that moment.
That was a beautiful day.
It was a beautiful day. Yeah. The wind was blowing. Like I felt like I was sitting on grandma's porch with some lemonade, just discussing the world issues. It was beautiful. I love bringing it to the people. I love that about Dove. I love that about your work, because transportation is becoming a bigger problem, especially in our district as well, as we're losing routes. So things that people can access by walking to, a lot of our city isn't walkable enough. But the other thing I want to say is, a lot of times barbers, and we've seen it in our past, barbers, nail techs, all these people end up unofficial mental health people that people are trying to talk to about their problems and their issues. So the fact that you're
bartenders.
Yes. And the fact that you're taking that work to them as well, that is phenomenal, because it's like when we talk about medic training or first aid training, or Narcan training or CPR training, we all should have a little bit of that. I've put all the teams that I've worked with, I put them through mental health first aid training, but that is something that they need all the time, because we have a lot of trauma-filled work. We meet people sometimes in my vocal work at the worst time in their lives, even on council. Like Dre and I, and Ben have gotten calls from people who are crying, who are desperate, and what can you do at that moment? So you're right, having a team that's prepared. But the best part of this is also taking care of those who take care of others. So hearing you say that there's a specific focus on rest and making sure you connect people and making sure being a teen mom, I had to access a lot of services. And one of the best ones was when I was done with my college classes and this group would pick us up in their van and take me and my kids to this house where they prepared dinner. They did art activities with the kids. And they just let me go upstairs and take a nap. They let me go do my homework. They let me, and that was really, as a single mom, that was everything because my kids were in an earshot, so I didn't have to worry like who house they're over, what they're exposed to, and they were safe. And even though that was like 4 hours out of our day, it really gave back because I was working 2 jobs in college at the same time, so I didn't have a lot of quality time with them. Right. So anyway, to hear that you have programs and you're doing things that bring it to the people is something we really want and something that our city needs.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that coming to a place where we're prioritizing rest and prioritizing the actual wellness and well-being of each other is extremely important. I think we've gotten away from that. I think we've gotten so caught up in production and producing and goals and outcomes and whatever, and we forget that we are still human beings and we need to honor that humanity and take care of ourselves because we're not going to be any good if we don't. And the funny thing is I preach that, and I've been preaching that, but I still had to learn it the hard way myself, right? I had to get knocked on my behind with illness before I really took it serious. And so it's a real thing, and we really need to really consider it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Y'all know I'm about health and wellness before anything. Everything externally first starts internally. Right. So it's like we were talking earlier, and I was in college, and you think it's like, what you gonna do with that degree? It's just like, I want to save the world, and then you realize how big the world actually is, and you realize that the world starts with you, right? You save you save the people around you, you save the world. So what kind of, you said some words in there.
Can I do the People's University real quick though?
Yes.
I wasn't done telling what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
So just a quick little plug. Also, what I'm working on is the People's University. Some of you all might have heard of it as Louisville Political Education for Liberation. We've recently merged with Urban Spirit, which is another local organization in Louisville, to create the People's University. And so it is a free, primarily online organization that looks to do political education with anybody and everybody who's interested. And so I thought about that. I wasn't going to say it until you start talking about rest, right? And so like yesterday, every Wednesday in February, we did a collective rest session. That was the class for the month, was collective rest. And so we would come together on Wednesdays in the middle of the day for an hour and rest, right? And so even in our education, we're prioritizing rest. But we also have a ton of great classes getting ready to come up too, and I wanted to mention those. We have a couple of reading groups. We're reading The Conquest of Bread starting on March 13th, which is, we know, the anniversary of the murder of Breonna Taylor. We will be next Thursday. We're starting Parenting Toward Abolition class with our partners, Play Cousins Collective. We'll have a class, hopefully, my fingers are crossed, that I can get it together by the summer, but we want to do a class on The Wire. We want to explore political landscapes and like really do a deep analysis and dive into The Wire and see how it's pertinent and relevant to today. What else do we have going on? The Wire. We're doing a policing in the U.S. class starting hopefully in March as well. And so, I mean, we have a bunch of good things coming up. Some more book clubs are coming up. We have a partner that's going to work with us, and starting in May, we're going to be reading a Bell Hooks book. And so, I mean, we just have Dr. Khalila Story just put a book out, and hopefully once it comes out, she'll be leading a book group or at least doing something in the next few months when that comes out. And so we really want to get in with the knowledge and the expertise that's already on the ground, that's already out here, and bring them to a space to let people hear them and see them and access them in a different way. And so that it was built on supporting the movement in 2020 when it started, but it was also built on decolonizing education. And so if you come to our classes, the materials are free. We send you books. I'm leaving here, going to the post office to mail books for the parenting class. And it's not Khalila teaching all the classes. It is, who are the experts? I mean, and Dre, you've been part of some of those conversations. Dre led a few things back in 2020 2022.
Yeah.
Led a few sessions. And so we want people who have the information, the knowledge, and the skills and the experience to lead these classes, but we want it to be accessible to anybody who needs it, right? And so if you're interested in, facilitating a topic, then let me know. We can definitely get you on the schedule. If you just want to come to the class, and you can follow us on all the social medias at The People's U. But yeah, it's the People's Classroom. It's the People's University. And so whatever you want, like we just finished about a month ago, a whole 6-week session. Well, I guess it's been longer than that, but a whole 6-week session on Project 2025, and like breaking that down so people can understand what all it entails and what's in there to know, what's to be expected. And so, again, just what do people want to know? And how do we get the information to the people? That's it.
A more informed electorate means that we get to have better decision makers, and hopefully some of them folks are inspired to run. And running ain't everybody's forte, but we do need people to come in. There's a whole following, a movement on TikTok around TikTok University around all this free education. I know Harvard, some other schools do some free online classes, but to see something that's local and homegrown and is centered towards the necessity to build that out of a movement, that is the work. That is the work that makes me smile, because people like to say, you all were down there all that time. What did you accomplish? We actually accomplished a great deal, and this People's University represents. I do share their stuff on social media.
Thank you.
Do they have a singles class where you like hook up while you getting educated? Politically educated people.
I'll send you the form, and if you want to suggest that we do something like that, then we can definitely put that on the list of things to consider. How about that?
Well, I don't know his motives around that, but I do know a lot of people are lonely, and yes. Just like there's crimes of poverty.
What you mean you don't know my motives? You just said my motives.
I just said
people is lonely out here.
This is what we go through. This is not scripted at all. This is straight off the dome. But I've been talking to a lot of young adults from 20s into their 30s, 40s now, who have expressed that
she definitely just called Dre out. Y'all can see that. She just definitely pointed it
out. We age graceful. We seasoned around here.
Man. You don't become a man till you 40. So
that's
everybody
true.
under 40 is still little boys.
40 represent. It's not even a new 30.
40 is a great age.
It's his thing. It's his thing. So they've expressed relationship issues. Like back in the day, I did, was it a Green Dot training?
Yep.
I've done trainings with you before, and other folks that talked about what's normal in a relationship. Should somebody have your password? Why do I need, the levels of trust, and with the availability of this phone and video chat, it's like people don't even trust the phone conversation. It's like, if I can't see you on a video call, which I could be old school. I think video calls should be scheduled.
Listen,
don't just video call me out of nowhere. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I will be doing.
You definitely got to
text me. But if you say, Shamika, I'm going to video call you at 2:00, I'll be available. But even with my kids, don't just, and then they video call you. I'm talking stuff. I don't even know that their partner, their boyfriend, their other friend is on there. They laughing like, "Oh, Miss Shamika." I'm like, "Oh, I thought I was just talking to my daughter."
No.
So the whole
old.
boundaries.
We are old.
Y'all acting old.
We're seasoned, and the whole the whole boundaries level has changed, and it's been topsy turvy. That I imagine.
Just don't answer it.
Being in the dating world has to be crappy right now.
That's true. That's crappy. But just don't answer the phone.
So here's what I do. It's two things.
But then they know see notifications if you're green, if you're online, or if you're...
Or answer the phone without the screen on.
Well, so what I do is I answer the phone.
I ain't trying to be seen right now. What you want?
I say, I can't hear you where I'm at. And then I hang up.
See?
Unsolicited FaceTime calls is coming to my house without calling first. It's disrespectful.
That's
we're not doing that. Knock on the door first.
Now we could be showing our age.
That's the same
we
thing.
Born in the same
if I
year.
knock on the door,
I didn't mean knock. I mean
you got
call me
to
first.
show me the face.
I meant to call me first. Call me before
it's
you come
the
to my
same
house.
thing with a call. If you don't want
I feel the same way.
I don't answer it. Send it to voicemail.
I do.
Then it's a whole conversation about you sent me the voicemail.
You didn't.
I know you didn't answer. Yes. And then people have this thing that if
why you leave
I'm
me
in the
on
middle
red?
of a meeting with y'all, I might send something right quick. I might post, but because I did that right quick doesn't mean I'm available. It might be there. Then I'll get messages. You was online. You was posting.
And you didn't even
I know
that
you.
part.
You don't know what I'm doing.
See?
Yep, it's a mess. It's too
I
much.
hope you listen to that while you ask him, Dre, why ain't you answering your text? Dre, why ain't you answering your text? Because I be driving all day.
Listen,
At least say you driving. I was driving.
I'd rather get a call.
Put you a little automatic messenger on there.
That's what
For
they gonna have.
Shamika only. I'm driving right now. It be
Automatic.
2:00 in the morning.
And
like,
I hate pre-type. I use pre-type text sometimes, and I can tell when it's pre-type. Did you just send me a pre-type message? Are you busy? Or like,
Bruh,
let
that's
me know?
wild. She hollered, did you just send me a pre-type? What type of stuff is that? Did you just send me a pre-type?
I'm just
I'm
saying.
too good for a
Dre
pre-type.
knew I had control issues a long time ago. What happened is we were organizing. We became co-chairs of the Kentucky Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression.
Yes.
We got elected.
Yes.
Tia brought us in and then dipped on us, but we got elected.
That's true.
And then we worked together. Then this thing happened. This COVID, and then the movement happened.
Yep.
Then we came back. We're still co-chairs. We're fighting to support each other, supporting work.
Yeah.
Then I said, "Oh, I'm gonna run for office. I'm gonna run for mayor."
Yep.
And we went through that campaign.
Yep.
Then we said, "Oh, I'm gonna take a break." Then this seat came available. Then and the people were like in the neighborhood, in the community.
We were supposed to take
they
a break.
said, "Run."
right, that's what happened.
We're supposed to take a break. Then we went right back into another campaign, and then we come into this new government role.
Yes.
So Dre has not worked.
We here now.
I don't call people working for me. I say we work together as a team.
Yeah.
Yes. 'cause
Dre
we do.
hasn't worked for me in a professional way, in that way. Not that I believe in all the respectability politics, but me coming into government, I was like, look, we need our own separate phones. Me and him both got a lot of different business going on.
Right.
So now we're in this space, and in this space, I'm like, well, Dre, I want to have this, and that. So that's where our relationship has morphed into, is because now we're in these government roles. Like, I'm glad to have my partner with me through this. I wouldn't see myself doing this without him. Yeah. But I also have an extra heavy burden of representing, and misogyny is real. Yes. So how I do something, how I run something, the constant eyes that are on me here, and I have undoubtedly put extra pressure on him because of that. The shift of all the stuff. The dynamics have shifted. Yeah. So that has been our dilemma. But I'm saying this for a point. I've seen you navigate all these different spaces, even with the start of Dove, the start of the deflection program, me and you, Dre, all of us in conversations during the protests and what's next and all of that. Us watching other groups develop, the work morph. Some of us come in, some of us stay out. Right. Losing people, testing friendships, crazy relationship stuff. Like, all of that happens at once. And then you still raising kids. Yeah. You're still trying to take care of your family. My mother had to have hip and back surgery in the middle of all of this. Yeah. So, like, we do that all the time. And I think sometimes I don't think it's like not been done before, but that we are in unprecedented times so we had no time to really prepare for everything. Yeah. I feel like now, me and Dre talked about this, I felt like 2023, 2024 was about getting to know who your people are, because we saw this red wave MAGA mess coming back, and I felt like those were our times to get to know I know who my people is. Yep. I know if I go out that door and bombs is dropping, who to call, where to go. Exactly. My worry is that too many other people don't. And
that's part of the reason why I think Dove is so important, because we're trying to help foster that community building. And I mean, Dre, you and I were talking a little bit earlier about like who's gonna do what, right? Who's gonna be in what role? Who do we drag along? Who are we gonna lose?
That's right.
Who's on our side? And and so I think now is absolutely that time. If you don't already know, you better figure it out quick, because it's about to get real out here. That's and right. So
and everybody can't have the same level of access.
Yep.
And that's what you taught me during the movement. Like, you were like, Andre, you came out to the park and you were like, how do you do this every day? And you were like in tears. Yeah. And I thought, we just bring everybody along together. In tears a lot in that part. We just do it together. But now I recognize there has to be tears. Yeah. Because so many people came
together, but everybody's not in the
They're not
clearance.
ready.
Yeah, we have to have clearance to, reach to certain levels, because whatever machine or system that you're under that's moving, the top level is the brain, right? And so if everybody's putting into the brain that it ain't got a brain, or not on that educational level, or you know what I mean, then that throws off the whole system. So like the best systems and things that move are when the people, the board, the council, the elders, the advisory, whoever are of the same mindset in a particular, like they don't have to think the same, but we all have to have the same information. Yeah. We all have to have the same facts.
And the same goal would be helpful
and
too.
the same goal.
That's the problem, right? What I learned in 2020 is we don't all have the same goal. I thought we did, but we didn't.
So talk about the goals, because it seems like we got a difference in goals between the mayor and the LMPD and what the people are trying to ask for as far as a consent decree.
Yeah, I think that the goal for the people is police accountability. For some of us, it may be police abolition, right? But I think that that's a stop towards. So I don't think that goals are not necessarily aligned, but they're not necessarily. They're what's the word? When you get to one place,
I'm an abolitionist, and I see it as a strategy.
Yeah,
and I think we need to create the system that gets us there.
Right.
Because if we just cut off the water fountain or the faucet, what's next?
Anything.
And we're not prepared to, like I said, when the bombs drop, when we walk out that door.
Exactly. But I think people are, and I mean, most people who know me and know us know that I don't live in this city, right? But I'm here. I spend my time between here and New Orleans. And I need people to understand that I am here because I love this city.
That's right.
And accountability does not mean that I don't love this city. And I think people need to understand that accountability is a expression of love.
That's right.
If I didn't care about this city or care about the people that live here or even care about the government of this city, I wouldn't be so loud. I wouldn't be so upset. I wouldn't be so, engaged and involved, right? And so, we need to start changing the language of accountability. Like it's a negative thing.
Right.
I only hold you accountable because I care. Right. If I didn't care, you could do whatever you wanted to do, right? Like if we didn't love our children, we wouldn't, give them consequences. We wouldn't say things to them, right? We would let them just go off and do whatever they wanted to do, right? And so it's the same thing. And so I think that people really, really want. They want reparation from the harm that's been caused by this government and this police department, and they want accountability. They want it to be addressed, recognized, and addressed, right? And so it doesn't continue to go on because there's no point in repairing the harm that was done if you keep doing the same stuff over and over and over again.
That's right.
Like don't punch me in the face and say you're sorry. I'm supposed to be okay with that, and then you keep punching me in the face every day. Like
true sorry is change behavior.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
change the behavior.
Yeah, you got to change the behavior, and so I think that's the disconnect. I think that people think that it's like it's us versus them, or it's we don't like the police, or the police are under attack, and it's like no. Let's just be accountable. Let's just make sure that we're on the up and up, and let's just make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Do you think that when you say things like I want the police, we're for police abolishment, that you think that they get threatened when you say things like that? And then
because they don't understand what it is.
Hold on. Before you even go there, y'all
you saw me. You saw I was great. Get ready.
Yeah. Y'all want to abolish the police?
So do we want to have an abolition talk?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate real quick.
No.
So
I feel like you
want
are.
to hear y'all. I want to hear. I want to.
Do you want to talk about abolition or the consent decree? Because it's almost two different conversations.
It is.
Okay.
Right, and so
but as she said, like this is the consent decree a step to abolition?
I think it's a step in lieu of abolition, right? It's a step that we need in the meantime, right? Because abolition. So as Dr. Collins. Because
she just stepped into the hat now.
You didn't get me in my arena.
Take notes.
Now.
Get your pens out. Here we go.
So
Lecture time.
Actually, my doctoral work and research is on abolition, right? But it's more focused on social work. But in that, just studying and understanding, because I can tell you, in all honesty, I didn't even know about abolition as a thing until 2020, right?
Really?
I mean, yeah, but not like, oh, yeah, let's do this thing. It was like, this sucks. This is bad. Police do this. They hurt people. But, like, it's a real thing. It's been a real conversation. And, yes, we know that they suck or they whatever the case. But, like, it never was a real thing like, this is what I am. And to this day, abolitionist is probably one of the very few titles that I will wear proudly and always subscribe to. Right? You can say you're a Democrat, maybe. You're a feminist, maybe. You know what I'm saying? But like, I am an abolitionist, right? And so abolition does not necessarily mean defunding or abolishing the police. Abolition means it's a practice. It's not a goal. It's a practice, right? And so it means that you are creating a world that you don't need police. So people will have the things they need. They will have access to housing, and all their basic needs are being met. So that police are not necessarily a thing that's needed, right? Their law enforcement to some degree is going to always be needed, right? That's not the problem. No one's arguing against that, right? There has to be checks and balances. There has to be all those different things. But when we say things like defund the police and abolish the police, we're talking about actually creating the world in which we want to live in, so people are safe and healthy, so we don't need the police. And we have to quit acting like the police are a preventative measure, because they're not. We have to quit acting like the police are the answer to all of the problems, because they are not. And we need to quit having conversations that are always, and I know this is live, I know I'm on camera and I'm being recorded, and if y'all say it out loud again, I'll deny it. We have got to come together with existing law enforcement and have a real conversation that's not contentious, because guess what? The things that we say we don't want them to do, they don't want to do it anyway.
That's right.
And I learned that during building the Deflection Project, right? We say we don't want cops showing up at mental health crises, right? They don't want to show up to mental health crises.
They don't want to arrest homeless people.
And so why do we keep making them do it? Right? So somebody's up here playing puppet master.
That's right.
So
right?
when you say, because I think of it like this, if we need law enforcement, right? Like to some degree, right? But if the laws are set up, because to me the police enforce the laws.
They're supposed to be enforced.
But the laws aren't
trash.
set up.
The laws are trash.
Yeah, to support the people or
it's a
protect
larger
the
conversation.
people.
Yeah.
It's set up to support a certain group of protected people.
Right.
So when they say serve and protect, it's not talking about everybody, and I think that's the issue with law enforcement.
It's
from
not
the
talking about people at all. It's
perspective.
about property.
Yeah,
And that's where people are confused, and that police get the benefit of the doubt, like they're here for all of us. Like we saw all too well during the protests, when some of the most starches, like people who are like after police singing all the songs and all of that, and then when these racist people came and they looked like they were going to attack us, they were expecting those same police officers to come out there
and save them.
and save them. And I was just like,
no.
And they were disappointed.
Handle your business.
Because even when they're the maddest or they've been disappointed at the most by police, they still expect police to be there for
like you
them.
said, we're conditioned to that.
Yeah,
I agree with you in the sense that like our goal should always be building a society in which we don't need such aggressive law enforcement, right? I don't think we'll ever get to a place where in a utopia where we don't need some type of protection for the weak against the strong in any sense, in any culture, in anything. Sometimes they weren't called police in ancient days, but you always had to bring things to the king or to the tribesmen. Right. You know, everybody's going to have disputes. And
we're not saying, again, not having accountability, right?
I'm not saying that. I just like, we got to get there. But how do we get there? Like, if you're saying the police want to be there to where they don't have to be so aggressive, they can actually be in the neighborhoods and talking to people and community oriented and more helping getting, you want them to.
That's not what I said. I never said any of that.
She's saying it.
I never said that.
I've said that from our conversations with district folks that are asking for more surveillance. They're asking for more police response. I've said to them, here's what happens. You're asking for this, but this is what happens. You call 311 because you see someone unhoused in an area. They come in, and Nicole George and her team wipes them out. And then they just unhoused again, and then they're going to find another place.
In a different place with less resources most times,
exactly.
Right?
So
or
people
access.
think that, when I call them, they're actually going to help. Like, I called Dre to do something. Dre's going to go help and mitigate the situation. That's just what you do. That's why I call on you for that. People think that that's what police are doing, or that's what 311 and all these things. They're not.
No.
Because when they go, it's like, you was there when we had that meeting with Interim Chief Gentry. She said, my officers come with three objectives. Ask you to leave, tell you to leave, and make you leave. That's how, and people don't know that that's what's happening when they make that call. So I was excited about the work of Dove in the deflection program because I thought I was doing something. I was like, yeah, we should tell people to call 911, make them call 811. Turns out you do call 811 for digging purposes. Then I was like, we need another number.
Listen, hold on. Let me tell y'all how excited Shamika was to call me and say, yeah, you know what? We didn't have a number to call. I said, Shamika, we got a number to call. It's on its way. Because 988 was already being built. But she thought she had the idea. She was like, we need to get a short number. Like, I don't know.
Put it in their head.
She was ready. I said, we got that, Shamika. It's on its way. And she was like, oh, okay. Like, she was so damn excited to share her
Because
idea.
we, like you said, from the beginning, our upbringing is call the police, call the police. An enforcement arm is never meant to legislate or to govern a city. I don't want to be governed by our police.
Yeah,
I don't think that they have, and they've shown and they've said they're not lawyers, they're not social workers, they're not doctors, but they're put in the situations to be that. So my focus is, is I focus on the balance and decision making and the discretionary options that police officers have.
Right.
They have a great deal of those discretions they choose. So if
they're street
if
judges.
that pregnant woman that they cited, if that was Rachel Greenberg under there, why would she be under there on a mattress, right? But hey, life be lifing. If that was Rachel Greenberg sitting on that mattress, do you think that she would have gotten cited and treated and talked to the way she would have been
in their mindset? Yes. Because of what you just said, from their mindset. Why would anybody important be down here pregnant doing this? Just like when
life be life.
Exactly. They don't understand life. Just like when Bill Lamb said that what he said about you this weekend when you're defending criminals. We're not defending criminals. We're talking about people
agenda.
Who go. So let me tell you something, and I hope Lamb's listening. This is what a criminal is as well. So you call me a criminal because I was sitting in college. I would always arrive for class early, and I would sit in the student activity center at like 6 a.m, right? And there's other people sitting here too, right? There's other cars on the road, right, Bill? But because I'm sitting here as a young student of color, I get DPS at my table asking to see my ID. Right?
Did you have locks then?
And I didn't even have locks then.
Because I saw you when you had the fro.
No, yes. I was short haired then. I had my grill in. But hey, you know what I mean? So real quick, like you could turn somebody, it's not, what I'm saying is it's real easy to be labeled a criminal.
Yeah.
And when criminals don't have advocate, we're not criminals, and I say that with air quotes for what you want to put in the system as a criminal. Because your skin, because of who you are, because of where you are, right? That when you're so quick to label people, then those people don't have advocates. So when you, councilwomen, are being advocate to those people, it's not being an advocate to criminals. It's being advocate to
me with criminality.
It's being advocate to people who are unfairly criminalized.
Right.
That's what they don't get. Like when you say life be life, and we're talking about situations and things that happens to where we're on this road now, and no matter whether you're trying to fix it or not, you're on this road. And do I not have a chance to get off of this road? Right. Do I have to be labeled like this for the rest of my life? Do I have to go through all these certain penalties? Because like you said, going back, if this was your wife or your son or your daughter, you'd be pulling all type of strings advocating for this criminal.
Person, right.
Right,
as examples of mayors' sons and them getting caught in drug situations.
Myriad examples.
Prosecutors, you're exactly right. That's a great way to put that, because that's how that made me feel when I saw that. And then all I did is read off some of the mayor's legislative agenda, which focused on penalizing and criminalizing and asset forfeiture and all that. And so I read those off, but Bill Lamb took it as I'm saying, oh, this is okay to go and break the law. Here's the thing. LMPD has broke the law way more times than I ever have. The time I did go to jail was defending my life. Right. So, like, I am not a criminal.
Consent decree is for, though?
Exactly. So the consent decree, and this is great timing because I filed the People's Consent Decree again. And I need help from the community to get this formal recognition of the documented harms from our police department in our local books, because the consent decree itself is a federal response. We have had nothing statewide except Senate Bill 4, which kind of watered down some of the no more door knocking, but it doesn't eliminate it. It's still happening. People are still being killed, and no knock raids and warrants. And then we don't have anything that says, like, what happened with the
just acknowledge
the what is that Explorer case? Mm-hmm. That's not even there. There's been so many documented harms of LMPD, and all I get from my colleagues sometimes on council is let's inflate their budget more. Let's give them this and that. But like you said from the beginning of this conversation, folks are asking for accountability, and there is, if you don't document it, if you don't recognize it, then how are you going to stop it from happening again?
You can't heal until the harm has been recognized, right?
That's right.
And I think I told Erica Shields that when she was here, when I had the opportunity to speak on a panel with her. You keep saying, let's get over it, let's move, let's go, let's go. We can't go nowhere until you acknowledge what you did. And I'm going to say this too. When the announcement was made, the press conference was held about the consent decree being signed by both parties, there was still little to no recognition by the city government.
That's right. Because only Christian Clark really went into detail.
That went into detail. They still have not recognized what happened in this city. And so... And that's going to be a shameless plug to the podcast, because the podcast is about 2020 and what happened.
I love the podcast.
And so if you're looking for it, you can find it on all streaming platforms. It is WTF Happened in Louisville under the moniker, under the show title of Effed, Fed, and Liberation, or FFNL. You can find it on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast.
I love it.
But you know what the F happened in Louisville, right? Because people don't know and people don't talk about it. And so I think it's important that we have to start with acknowledging that. And so even the fact that this time last year, your colleagues, because we're almost on a year of you filing it last year, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so your colleagues couldn't recognize. All we saying is, this shit happened.
Right.
Can I say that on this podcast?
Well, you can say it now.
Okay.
I can censor it.
Okay. Beep, beep, beep.
Beep, beep. It happened.
You know what?
It happened, yeah.
Just say it happened.
Yeah.
We ain't got to say, if you wasn't here, it ain't your fault. That's cool. But you know it happened,
yes.
Right? You know that, for hundreds of days, people were in the streets getting shot at and tear gassed and mistreated and profiled and, all those things. You know for a fact that there were warrants that were falsely drafted and signed and that led to the murder of a woman in her home.
Yeah.
You know that, all of that was a lie.
Here's a question. What do you think the average officer thinks about the consent decree and why?
I think that they think that... Oh, yeah, I'm ready. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think that they think that it is a punishment for nothing, right? I think that they're thinking like, oh, my God, people don't want to be saved. They just trying to, it's a, people are whining and complaining. I think they think it's going to be a hassle, right?
Why do they think that?
Because people don't like accountability.
And it offers more checks and balances.
Yeah.
And as somebody who wanted to become a police officer, I would have wanted checks and balances because I know left up to my own vices, Shamika gonna do Shamika.
Listen.
So if there's some rules and stuff, I'm gonna figure it out.
I need them
because I'm a workaround queen.
Yeah,
I'm gonna find a way. So if you give me some good boundaries, okay, we'll figure it out. And as an officer, and I will say, we met some officers along the way who can't publicly say this, who said, I'm glad that you all are doing this. There's a lot of internal issues. There's a lot of
how can we work together so we can work from this way?
Yeah, we're not
way.
Getting promoted. We're getting looked over. And when we challenge the system, white gay officers have told me this, as well as black officers, that they get blackballed, that they lose shifts, they lose so much. So you're asking people to go against their livelihood at the same time. And I will tell you, we will have another people's uprising due to the lack of inefficiency from decision makers.
Yes.
That is the root cause of that. But when those things happen, people, that's the language of the unheard. Those are not just people like me and you out there. We don't make up the masses.
That wasn't
the
us.
masses are the ones who see this stuff happening over and over again with no accountability.
Yep.
And when these things happen, you can't just be on a defense when we pay for you. We pay for your job. We pay for your budgets. We pay for your lawsuits. We pay for your attorneys. We pay for you all the way around. And any other place in this world.
We pay your punishments. We pay all of that.
When you got the dollar, you got the control. And in the policing situation, we pay with our dollars, but we don't have control because of their unionization, the FOP, and the ways that their contract. We don't have control
because there's no political will.
Exactly.
That's why.
I agree.
That's why we don't have control, right? Because
there's not enough political will.
LMPD runs the city.
Yep.
Period. The FOP runs the city.
And when you have and I keep saying the horse is riding the man. This is our Derby town. Is the horses riding the man, and nobody wants to really acknowledge that an enforcement arm is not supposed to lead. Like the fish in your tank don't supposed to make the decisions for everybody else.
Right.
They're the fish in the tank. They have a job.
Yep. What is it about? I guess so. We talked about the average officer. So what is it about the executive?
The leadership is
control.
Why would they, in your opinion, be so against a consent decree?
Well, I'm gonna say first
Humphreys. Why would Humphreys be against
more eyes,
more accountability, all of those things. But also, if you don't see a problem, then it's a headache, it's a hassle, right? Mm-hmm. And people don't see a problem. If all of a sudden to come out, then we wouldn't be here, right? If we hadn't been in those streets for hundreds of days, then this wouldn't even be happening, right?
So you say the leadership of LMPD doesn't see a problem with how policing is going in Louisville?
The leadership, their contract qualified immunity, and the lack of political will is what's keeping this corruption, these toxic cultures from going. And let's be clear, this is the second consent decree in recent years. The first one was the very reason Humphrey is a black chief.
So why do you think that they say they could sit here and twice by the DOJ and say that, your stuff could be tighter, it could be better? How could they sit there and ignore that? Why do you think they say, well,
it's like, Dre, you moved to a city and you built your house, and you use some family wealth to do that. Maybe your granddaddy had an apartment, had a house somewhere, and it was your job to go there, secure the house, take care of the farm, do all of the stuff. Set it up the way you need to set up. Some people got mad and complained about some of the decision making you did. We had the autonomy to do, and you handled it the way you saw fit. And then they complained and went back to your granddaddy and was like, why did you let him take over that property? Because he don't know what he's doing. He's mistreating people. I don't like it. Technically, you're still the owner of that property, so we need you to go and do something about it. Then your granddaddy comes in after you've been running stuff for years, comes in and say, Dre, I don't like this, and starts to undo some of the practices that you've been using. That's what this feels like.
That's a really good analogy.
Yeah,
it's just the oversight. They don't want those eyes on them. They don't want to be under the gun. They used to spinning the narrative, creating the narratives they want for the media. They got their really pro supporters who don't see them doing no wrong, because guess what? At the end of the day, they always get benefit of the doubt, even from some of us who've been wronged by them. Mm-hmm. Oh no, that officer didn't mean to do that. Why did you didn't? It was your fault. Comply. Yeah. You comply as a black man, you die. Yeah. You comply. I had to tell my husband, don't wear a black hat, don't get pulled over on a dark street. It don't matter what else you're doing. You got a license, concealed carry. You got all the boxes. Look at Philandro Castile. Mm-hmm. Sir, I just want to get my documentation out of the box. This man works in school cafeterias. Mm-hmm. Killed, right? And his kid is in the back seat. We got Breonna Taylor. Even if it was no drugs found, none of that in there. But even if it was, does that legislate the rest of your life? Do you get to use your qualified immunity to make a decision that takes this woman out of here for some drugs?
Right.
Do I die? When all these people are in the closet using drugs and working and doing all the things they do, they just hadn't been caught and they're not over-policed, so they get to do. In the safest neighborhoods, Anchorage, we went to their thing, and they said, yeah, we maybe have 1 to 2 officers overnight, the whole night. Mm-hmm. There's never 1 to 2 officers in the West End where I live.
Yeah. Even on your street, just your street alone is not 1 to 2.
And so Anchorage is safe, not because it's over-policed.
It's funny, too, because
it's got resources.
And Anchorage also said, I've heard people say from Anchorage that when you call 911 for a mental health crisis, you get the option to get a non-police response.
Isn't that interesting?
Right?
Shout out Anchorage.
Shout out Anchorage.
So, like, when you call, So back to your question is, why do you think people are resistant to this?
Not people, police.
White
Leadership.
supremacy.
Yes.
So Shamika gave you a practical answer and a logistical answer. I'm gonna give you a theoretical answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's white supremacy. People subscribe to and thrive or try to thrive or want to live under white supremacy. And so
because it seems safe.
It seems safe. They think it's safe, right? And then capitalism is right behind that, right? And so basically what law enforcement is and we say this a lot, right? Policing was started after the slave for slave capture and blah blah blah. That was about capital. That was about policing and keeping capital, right? And so to this day, that's the same thing. When police were giving us a hard time, it was about property. They were down there on us because we were messing up their business and we were messing up their buildings, messing up their things, right? So they say. It wasn't because people weren't safe. They didn't give a shit about people being safe. They were upset about their capital being harmed, right? And so law enforcement is just about keeping the empire going, right? And so they're the line between the empire and the people.
Enforce the
It's
empire
Star Wars.
as well.
It's Star Wars.
The empire as well.
Every type of movie like Star Wars is I can relate it back to racism, capitalism, because that's exactly what it is. The people fighting against the bigger machine. But your first question to Khalila, which I think she answered so well about abolition, and I agree with her definition, and I see it as a strategy. I read Prisons Are Obsolete many, many years ago, and I see policing as a vehicle towards mass incarceration. So that's the problem for me.
When prisons were obsolete, slavery was there.
That's right.
And vice versa. Now.
That's right.
That's what I was.
So to me,
and me and you always talk this, and she's gonna hate that I say this, and we gotta go because we on WLOU now, so we gotta keep our time together. But I can't say that I'm with. The way you explain abolition and me being a Pan-African Studies major, that makes a lot of sense because I should have remembered that it's a practice.
Well, wait till the paper drops because it's going. I'm sorry.
I can't wait.
At the same time, I feel like there is a certain level of we've always had a judicial type of deal, right? Policing came in, like you said, when Eurocentric America was trying to protect their property, right? But we've always, as a civilization, as history of humans, had somebody to mediate our disputes, right? And had some type of protection if I couldn't protect myself. That was the whole point of civilization, for us to come into society together, right?
Right.
So I'm like, I definitely agree. I think people would agree. I think there's, very good cops and police officers that would agree that we need to be building the type of society that doesn't need aggressive law enforcement, that law enforcement can do the things that some cops I know when I talk to them say they wish they could do, in the community, mentoring and, less pulling my gun and more about
How many jobs you got right now?
Under there.
No, hold on.
We gotta go. We not going to open it up.
How many things you got? So don't tell me what things you wish you could do. If you wanted to be a mentor in the community, go be a mentor in the community. I'm a mentor in the community, and I got 2 other jobs too. Don't tell me what you wish you could.
I'm not talking about all of them. Say, hold on.
I'm talking about everybody.
I'm talking about on the job mentoring in community. Because I've had a teacher who was a police officer in the 80s and 90s. Well, I think it was only a few years so. But he didn't wear a gun. And some people may know who this man is. He didn't wear a gun because he was very well trained. He didn't feel like he was in danger not to have a gun. And he would always go to the houses in his beat just to check on people.
Right.
And they all knew him. And they told him, meaning the department, he can't do that anymore. Right, you're not supposed to be friendly. So I'm talking about what I'm saying is the culture. The culture. That's what I'm saying, girl. Calm down. See, that's what we can't just be so tooth and nail it's over. Be like that. It's simple. Compromise. Compromise doesn't mean that you get everything your way. It means we understand each other, so we can figure out what's the most important things that we need to take out of this relationship of us working together and moving forward. Right? Because I wouldn't want to abolish police and 1,000 people don't have jobs. You see what I'm saying?
That's absolutely right. And I think that
look at when they pull out of Afghanistan. I mean, like, she has military experience. When we see what comes home and what happens to our veterans, we know how they treat our veterans is indicative of how they would treat the police. But here's the thing.
But that don't mean that they doing everything right.
And the blue line is corrupted.
Yeah,
and
that doesn't mean that
you got to
right.
undo the root, and you have to reform it. Not just giving it a new logo and a new color and a new uniform. You have to really get in there.
You got to
and
get
do
to
it.
the ideology of it. But that's what we were saying. Like, the ideology of policing,
of community protection, is to me is the better way.
Than the
policing is to. I'm looking for community protection,
community safety versus public safety, right?
And judicial side, because police are street judges, right? And
we're talking about they have all that discretion.
So we need the judicial side to break up, disagreements, and we need the mental health side, and we need the community protection side, right?
That deals with the root causes and all the other things.
That deals with root causes and also things that get physical.
Right.
That's true.
Mental situations. I've had more mental situations in my security time that get physical, that could have got very physical. Had I not been there, had I not been trained to de-escalate some stuff.
De-escalation, conflict resolution.
And how many people have you shot?
That's what
that situation.
I'm not telling my business.
Whoa,
I said in those situations.
Oh no, let's redo it then.
You just
let's
said,
redo it then. No,
de-escalated.
Yes, I de-escalated, but let's talk about. Not say how many people I've had to shoot. Let's say how many people I've had to actually touch in those situations. Because
where you've had to use violence.
I've had to defend. I've had to defend the room from them people. You see what I'm saying?
That's not.
So I'm not saying that the police do it right before you jump down. I'm saying that we still have to have these pieces, but we got to come to how do we have these? How do we not need a lot of that? And then how do we come to what we need? What does that look like?
No, and I'm saying I agree with all of those things. When we fundamentally agree. The question is, how do we get there? Is where where me and you typically have our.
We get there together, as Councilwoman would say.
We definitely get there together. But I don't want to lose you before I say. I want to say thank you for your work with the People's Consent Decree, the ongoing work that Dove is doing. Please let people know how they can be connected to that work. On my end, we have some important dates coming up. We know I've talked to Tamika Palmer, and I usually respect March 13th as a day that they kind of lead on what they want to do. I saw that U of L announced a new nursing scholarship in Breonna Taylor's honor, but also that day is significant from when she died.
Yep.
Then on May 28th and 29th, after what happened with George Floyd and the call from Kenneth Walker was released, that signifies when we all came together for the Justice for Breonna Taylor movement and we hit the streets. But also April, she told me, I saw her in the airport as I was coming back from Texas this week, and she was on her way somewhere, is that they don't want to do much around March 13th. But the ironic thing is it's also a council meeting day. So because I filed the People's Consent Decree, I do want people to come to the council meeting, represent the districts they're in, because all of the council members need to see how this issue has impacted all of us. Whether you connect to it or not, you're impacted by it, and how this recognition of this, like Khalila explained, like I've explained, needs to be honored. And this is separate from the consent decree that the judges and the mayor and all of them have committed to seeing through. That is going to take ongoing work too. I think the ACLU, 490 Project, so many other groups, ACO Kentucky, all of us are working on that in different ways. The last thing I'll say is Tamika Palmer said that April 8th is a significant day because that is when I always get Madeline and Hankerson mixed up. One of them is being sentenced on April.
That would be Hankinson.
That would be Hankinson. And he's being sentenced on April 8th. Here, as a restorative justice, abolitionist kind of person, I don't get excited about sentencing.
Me either.
I have some human rights, human concerns about that. But I do want to recognize the significance this has. The Walls didn't get justice. Breonna's neighbors didn't get justice. So for the family engaged in this, that is an effort to address this at one level. They want to see some type of justice, like they put the reforms into their lawsuit. They want to see some type of justice happens. Have we seen officers be sentenced in this way? No. Have we seen all these things? So I have mixed feelings about it all, but I just wanted to share that her message was she's going to be trying to help get people to show up at that sentencing. So those are important dates. You got March 13th. There is a council meeting. You can sign up to speak for the People's Consent Decree. It should be heard then. There is April 8th, where there's that sentencing for Hankerson. That's that on is those federal charges, right? Because he was acquitted of the state. Yes. And then there is also, we're figuring out what we're going to do to lift up Breeway with 2 Ys and Injustice Square for May 28th through the 29th when we set up Injustice Square. I am still working on the coffee table book. I actually want it to be a little bigger than this, and I want it to be filled with like the memes, the quotes, the stories. We've been collecting them the whole time. We want to do some storytelling circles, and I want to partner with Dove to get some of that, because the more when we talk about it, it kind of brings us back there. But I want to talk about it and put it somewhere, because there's many people who help with that movement who we'll never see in the limelight, we'll never hear from. I want folks to tell their stories from all over. So anyway, that's what I'm working on for the May 28th, 29th for Injustice Square. We as District 3 will be announcing anything that comes out of that. And I want to give you an opportunity to say what you need to say about the People's Consent Decree Coalition and how people can get involved and anything else.
Yes. If you're interested in being part of the coalition, you can reach out to me, again, Diverse Options, Voice and Empowerment, or Dove Delegates on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, also known as X. You can find us there, the People's Consent Decree Coalition, and then there's also a link tree, but I don't necessarily know that. And I think it's the link tree is LOU People's Consent Decree on Linktree, and on there you can find links to put your information in to be able to join the mailing list, their email list, and find out when meetings are happening and things like that. There's also we'll be posting things. We're having a huge strategy planning session on Monday. So I think that there's ways people can get involved. There's a petition out there you can sign. It's also on the Linktree. What else is going on with the People's Consent Decree? We'll definitely have more to put out after Monday's call, but just keep your eye out on the federal court proceedings. It was just passed over again extended. It was just continued again till next month, and so we know the judge is trying to not sign it for whatever reason. He has all these questions that he didn't have 6 months ago, but he has all these questions now. But it's also important to note that he's a judge on a bunch of cases involved surrounding these same issues, and we need to watch and see who and how people are ruling and voting and different things like that. And so,
no doubt.
This is bigger than just LMPD.
This is
again where we are fighting white supremacy, and so there's multi layers in which we're having to address issues, right? And so. But the People's Consent Decree, you can find us on social media. We'll find us through Dove, really, and then we can get you in touch with the People's Consent Decree Coalition.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, Dr. Collins, on this episode of the District 3 Powerhouse podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm so glad this happened. You got to come back. You got to come back.
I'm going to get one of those. I'm going to get one of those.
Exactly.
You need to wake up with one of those.
Every Zoom call. Every Zoom call I have, I'm going to just open up, but I'm going to come on camera with the
We'll see y'all
There's
next.
other sounds. Give her another sound.
We'll see y'all. We got to go. We'll see y'all next time. Peace out on the District 3 podcast.
They can cut it for the radio, but this I want on Facebook.